What's up, everybody? Chris Algieri here with Boxing Scene Today, joined by the champ, Paulie, the Magic Man Malignaggi. We got some top stories for you guys today. First top story, Rolly Romero denies a signed deal for the Haney unification bout. Now, is this a situation of trying to marinate the deal to get the fight more intriguing, or is this possibly a no-go?
You know what? I just hope it's not another Virgil Giron situation where we get teased and then you don't get the fight. Obviously, sometimes you got to dot the I's, cross the T's. The finalization of the contract, takes a little bit extra time. For Rolly, though, to mention that it's not yet signed, to me, probably does mean that there are some sticking points that he's not liking, on the deal, or that's something that he wants to hash out before he says it's finalized. Because sometimes it's not finalized, but it's announced, but all the main talking points are already agreed on, so you don't mind if they announce it, But I think for Rolly to be messaging to the public in this way, in this manner, I take it as there's probably some things on the deal that he's still not happy with, so they have to be hashed out, and so it's not signed unless they get hashed out. At least in his mind. You
mentioned off the top, we're hoping that it's not a Giron Ennis, Virgil Ortiz situation. I don't necessarily see it like that. Haney and Bill Haney, Devin and Bill, seem to be guys who are deal makers, right? They make fights, and especially the way Haney's been, Bill and Devin have been moving lately. It looks like they're trying to make the toughest fights possible. The Brian Norman fight was kind of a surprise. They made the fight.
I don't think it's.
But hold on, wait. So with Romero doing this, and Romero's very smart. He's crazy like a fox.
Yeah.
He's very, very, very clever in the way that he goes about these things. So I agree. I think that it probably is some kind of sticking points, more so on the Romero side, and they're looking to kind of hedge their negotiating. But I do think this fight happens, and I think it's probably going to happen this summer.
All right, we need it to happen.
Yeah.
Weren't they talking about May originally? Late May?
I mean, I guess it could be, because it could be sooner. May's a little quick for them to turn this around,
unless you've already been in camp and you've known us. There's been fights announced for me, but I'm sure for you too.
Yeah.
Well, you already knew months in advance, but they didn't get announced.
I've been in camp before they were announced. Yeah. Even my title eliminator with Tommy Coyle, I was in camp for 2 months before it ever got announced.
You know it was going to be announced. So that's what I'm saying about this one. I would hope that whatever disagreement Rolly might have would get hashed out, because we've had a good schedule so far. We've had some pretty good fights. We've had a pretty dynamic start to the year in boxing,
and also this fight would add to getting very hot. And these are two champions in welterweight right now. A unification bout between them be very important for the weight class in general. But in terms of this fight commercially, how do you see it? I mean, personally, I think that both these guys can, especially Rolly can really sell a fight. He's a really, really funny, great marketer. And I think Bill Haney brings another extra kind of wrinkle to Devin Haney's marketability. Does this fight actually sell, though? Do people, are the boxing fans, boxing public, because this is a fight they clamor for? I
think this is a boxing fight. I'm not sure how many casuals will be interested. I think Devin does have some crossover appeal. So he, sometimes he can draw some of that. But I also think the ability of Rolly to sell a fight, and I can see Bill and Rolly sort of starting to go at it, and that makes the press conferences interesting, and that sort of attracts people more and more into wanting to see the fight, wanting to watch the fight. I can honestly see the fight selling pretty well. I can see it being marketed well. As long as everybody does their job as far as the marketing part of it, I think Rolly will sell the fight, and I think honestly Bill always sells a good fight too for his son,
Bill always sells a good fight. Also, these guys have history. I think with this whole little fraternity that we have, the Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, these guys all came up in the amateurs together. There's a lot of video of all of them sparring. They fought each other in the amateurs. Famously, Garcia, Ryan, and Devin went 3-3 in the amateurs. Rolly's was another high-level amateur guy. I think he was a little younger than these guys, but they have those backstories. You also have the fact that both of them fought Ryan. So you've got that connection there. Yeah. Rolly's obviously getting the better of it, and then Ryan, even though the fight was declared a no contest, seemed to be got the better of Devin.
And Rolly knows how to bite at you. He knows how to get under your skin with some of the trash talking and stuff like that.
Gotten way better at it. In the beginning, it wasn't so good. In the beginning, it was a little
bit. Rolly's always a little bit silly with the trash talking, but
he's gotten way better at it. He's good at it now.
It's funny though.
It's very entertaining.
It's trollish. in a lot of ways, but it's funny, like when you talked about when you told Clarissa, I got him for you. that was terrible. That's terrible, but funny at the same time.
So we had talked on a past show about Clarissa Shields saying that she could beat Rolly Romero up, and Rolly had defeated the amateur fighter that had dropped Clarissa in sparring. That became a viral moment, and he came back because he knocked the kid out in the second round. He came back to Clarissa and said, I got him for you, sis. And she said, shut up, I'll knock you out too. So it's great. Yeah, Rolly's...
But that's what I mean. He bites at you. Like, he knows how to pick his moments and bite at you.
But he's also bulletproof because it doesn't affect him when you come back at him. Like, he's really good at just walking through the flames. That's fun. That's a fun part about him as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a character. He's a character. But like you said, he's crazy like a fox.
Crazy like a fox.
He knows that people will be attracted to that and be curious about that. I remember seeing him not long ago down here in Florida, and he was talking about saying, "Who's a better trash talker than me?" He goes, "I'm the best trash talker in boxing." I
mean,
I can't
disagree with him. There's a good argument for that.
You know, what do you guys think is the best trash talker in boxing? Granted, you may not think Rolly's your cup of tea as far as trash talking is concerned, but he always gets a reaction. He gets a reaction. Even if you think it's stupid trash talking, he gets a reaction.
And not for nothing, he can fight. He can fight, and he's entertaining. He can punch. He goes to knock you out. He's an awkward style that works. But speaking of walking through the flames, man, Eddie Hearn, man, is walking through flames, catching strays constantly, and obviously the drama with him and Dana White. But listen to this one. So,
wow.
Anthony Joshua was contacted about leaving Matchroom, and apparently gets this message and immediately shows Eddie. And, shows him this, kind of laughs it off, and seems that he's picking Matchroom's side. Now, Paul, you work with...
AJ's
So you work with AJ a lot.
Yeah, AJ's character-based.
And you know how Eddie is, and Eddie and AJ have a really, really tight bond.
Yeah.
Does this surprise you at all that Anthony would stay loyal?
No, not at all, actually. But as a matter of fact, they were able to do the coup with Conor Benn, so they figure, you know what, let's try our hand at somebody else that Eddie is.
Well, Dana said it after the last show. He goes, "I'm signing everybody, big stars." Yeah. Anthony Joshua's about as big as you get.
Well, also because they pulled it off with Conor Benn, who it is thought that Eddie had a little bit of an affinity for.
Yeah, they seem to have a relationship, obviously because of his father. And just British boxing in general in the UK.
So that was
everything
that was a
big
with
coup,
him, and that was a shock. Especially, like I said, I thought a big reason why Ben was even in the position he was in was because of Eddie. I don't think Ben's that good. Joshua, on the other hand, has been heavyweight champion. He's bona fide. He's a bona fide star with the foundation of actually having accomplished things in boxing. And he's got a really good relationship with Eddie as well. But this one was actually, this one had some. It was a cement relationship. It wasn't made out of hay, so to speak. So
there was gravitas.
So you could see AJ doing that. This wouldn't shock me that AJ would pick that side. There's always a negotiation and everything. But Eddie has done right by AJ as well, and AJ kind of there's a reciprocation on that part. There's a reciprocal loyalty on that part. They've made money together. They're friendly. We've always talked about Eddie has some of his favorites, and AJ is also. AJ may be the favorite.
Eddie's like his first. But that was his entry into the sport.
But they've had a great run together.
Yep.
And so I don't think AJ would be the type to torch the whole bridge right at the end of the run when it's been so good together. And so. No, it doesn't surprise me that he sort of shows her the message. So this is like, again, they're throwing eggs at each other. Dana and Eddie, Zuffa and Matchroom. So the egg hit Eddie when he lost Conor Benn when he thought he was a sure thing that he had.
A little bit of pun there with the Conor Benn and the egg, by the way.
Yeah,
from the Eubank slap in the face.
Yeah, no pun intended. but then in this situation, is it Eddie hitting Dana with the egg back, like you thought you were gonna get him right under my get him right under my eyes. Meantime, he shows me the text right away. What'd you think?
If this was basketball, that was a block shot.
Yeah,
he took a shot, and Eddie said, "Get out." And
Eddie's doing the Matumbo right now.
Yeah, no. This is different. This is not like the other guys. So you look at that. I said catching strays. For Eddie Hearn, maybe takes a little bit of a win there, but in terms of taking wins and taking losses. When does loyalty come back to bite you in the ass when you're leaving tons of money on the table? Because the guy AJ, right? How much does he realistically have left in his career? You know, you're probably not going to see him at the highest level anymore, be a champion again. But there's money to be made. Granted, you've made tons of money. You don't want to leave it on the table.
Listen, if money's going to be made on the table, it's going to be made with Fury. And let me tell you, that fight's going to happen whether he's with Eddie or not. You know, when there's that much money on the table in boxing, we have a lot of promotional barriers, right? But fights happen when the fight's big enough. You know,
the crossover fights.
So even this is one of those fights where it doesn't matter if what side anybody's on. AJ and Fury's going to happen. You can't not make it happen. What is the point of Fury and Makhmudov? It's Fury to get the win, knock the rust off, and get AJ. AJ had a sparring session with Jake Paul. He knocked him out. You know, kept him busy, kept him kept him moving. Bro, the whole final outcome is supposed to be Fury and AJ, and AJ's basically like, listen, I've had this guy on the ride with me the whole time. We've been on the ride together, AJ and Eddie, talking about AJ and Eddie. I'm not gonna throw him out off the ride now to close it out for a fight that would have happened anyway and has been being discussed anyway. So I think it says a lot about the parameters and the morals that AJ has in that way, because this is a real moralless business on both sides. Sometimes the promoter could be right, sometimes the fighter could be right, sometimes it's a little mix of both. But in this case, it really is from what it seems to be here, a good feel-good story.
This one well. Different than the Benn fight, because AJ is going to make money no matter what. He's already been a champion. He can step into these big fights. The fight with Tyson Fury's, a few months ago was a foregone conclusion. After he starches Paul, you know, we're looking like, oh, this fight's definitely going to happen now.
Tyson's friends then
he has obviously a tragedy, so this kind of gets put on the back burner. But regardless, AJ steps in the ring. He can step right into a Netflix fight with promoted by Eddie Hearn. He can make a ton of money. Not the same talk for Benn. Ben's not going to find a $15 million fight.
Yeah, but is Ben even there without Eddie Hearn?
But that's my point.
Is Ben even where he's at? There's still a level of where would this guy be anyway? You know what I mean? Like,
but
he's not
exactly
that good.
Like you said, what this business is. This is a very cutthroat business, and if you don't have that kind of, I'm just saying.
But what I'm saying is, regardless, there is still a side that you say, okay, you know, he's not going to find that money. AJ would find this money anyway because the Fury fight would happen.
And he's also got a cachet.
Ben is not going to find that. Yeah.
AJ's already got a cachet. He's got a ton of money already.
Yeah, Ben is not going to find this money otherwise. But Ben wouldn't even get the phone call had he not been with Eddie being moved the way he's been moved so perfectly on the way up. I mean, this guy failed the drug test.
Same question.
This guy failed the drug test, which no matter what the facts are, the whole world feels that Ben was guilty in that drug test. The entire world, you know. So no matter what they say publicly, you said talking privately. I've yet to meet somebody privately within boxing that doesn't think Ben actually was dirty. With no matter how much Eddie defended him. So Eddie gets credit for defending him in that way because he defended him vehemently to the point where it got overturned.
No,
you know what I'm
100% understand. No one is questioning how much Eddie has done and bent over backwards and it really shouldered a lot of Ben's career. But it goes back to my same point. If you're never going to make that money and that money comes in front of you, do you see how it's like when does the loyalty bite you to the point where that money, man, guys are going to go for the money? And we spoke to Robert yesterday, right?
Listen,
we asked about the belts and asked his young, and he goes, all those guys want the money.
Yeah, of course. But here's the thing: when it comes to this, the right thing to do would have been to still include Eddie some way. You know what I mean? Like because
more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah, yes. And this way
it's not as black and white as it all seems.
This way you look at least like a straight edge kind of person. Like there's morals to you. You're about the money. It's always about the money in terms of business, but at the same time, you're not cutting throats, especially cutting throats of those that helped you. That is important not to do in terms of, you know, the kind of stand-up person you're gonna be or not be. You know, AJ, going back to AJ and Eddie have been on the ride the whole time, and AJ said, "Nah, bro." It's like this ride continues with Eddie, and so that's a block shot, like you called it, right?
It's a block shot, a rare win for Eddie Hearn these days.
Listen, Eddie just got the DAZN extension as well, so
true.
You know he's also, you know, he's setting up his own account here as well, you know, and having a 5-year DAZN contract for big time boxing is nothing to spit on. You know, we're making like the Zuffa takeover is there, and Zuffa, listen, has a lot of power. They've signed a lot of fighters. Dana's saying, I am going to sign all these fighters. He's got the bankroll behind him, sponsoring him to be able to do it. But, you know, you still got MVP. They just signed a deal with ESPN.
Yep.
You still got Matchroom. They signed a deal with DAZN.
I'm hearing movement in the top ranked deals as well.
So
there's going to be
if that happens, I got news.
Yeah.
I got news for Dana. You're not taking over anything yet.
Yeah,
you know, like boxing's gonna keep moving. I don't know if. I guess the first time I probably heard about somebody trying to take over all of boxing was probably when Al Heyman came into the
BBC,
fray, right? I never heard of anybody trying to take over all of boxing before that. You know, you just knew it existed with your Don Kings, with your top Bob Arums, with your Lou Dubas at the time, and so on and so forth. And boxing,
but you know,
I thought it thrived.
But champ, you know
the whole takeover of boxing thing never started. I'll tell you when it started becoming a conversation point. When MMA went that route, went the Vince McMahon route. When Dana White and the Fertittas went the Vince McMahon by making everything exclusive.
Look exactly where we are. But to that point, though, like, you never heard of anybody trying it, but everybody talked about it. I remember people every promoter I've ever talked to talked about how this could work and how it would be. It would just take too much money to do it. Well, you get the influx of a giant corporation.
Before I turned
someone
pro,
else's money. I've heard about it.
Before I turned pro, obviously I wasn't involved in the business as much, and I didn't understand it as much. But I do remember Teddy Atlas always talking about a national commission.
Yes.
A nationalized commission, and that was obviously there's a lot of positives to that as well. Although it could be politicized, like we talked about with the BFC. Sometimes it's too politicized because it's one strong commission, and there's too much.
Well, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts.
Too much centralized power at times. If you put the wrong person in charge of something like that. But, you know, as far as taking over the sport in general from the business aspect of it, you know, we complain about the sanctioning bodies, but I think that's why neutral sanctioning bodies are neutral in some ways, right? But neutral sanctioning bodies, you know, prevent promoters from being able to manipulate rankings and so on and so forth, right?
The fractured nature of the sport,
because every promoter would manipulate rankings if they could for their money guys. You know,
every promoter would like to abolish the
That's why
every promoter would like to be double dipping. It's just the nature of the game.
So that's why
with what you can.
That's why you ideally prefer a neutral place to have rankings and not within a promotion or within a league or whatnot.
But my point was that with the fractured nature of the sport, the different factions create competition, so everyone has to kind of boom step up. But I believe there was a time where it got stagnant, and that's in recent years. I feel like the competitiveness between the promoters, they kind of were all like, no one was trying to take over. We're all trying to coexist in the same sandbox. So guys weren't putting on the best shows possible. Then we started to see some movement. PBC comes in. Al Heyman came in.
Tell you.
You saw some aggression.
Now we're gonna go down a rabbit hole. Now let me tell you.
I like rabbit holes. But hold on. So then so PBC did that. They stepped up their game, and we talked about how their shows got a lot better, especially when they're getting ready for the Amazon deal. Different networks. We lose HBO. We lose Showtime. Competition is bred again. Now there's a scarcity.
But you're giving me a symptom to the root of the problem. Let me tell you what the root of the problem is. When networks started giving exclusive deals to single promoters. Yeah. We grew up in a time in the 90s, okay?
Well, that's when where you cut
Holyfield and Bo, for example, who were the promoters? Holyfield was with the Dubas, and then he was with King, right? Bo was with the Rock Newman, and who was his promoter? He was basically just moving with Rock Newman. You still can make the fight. Yeah. You still can make the fight, and both guys had a 50-50 deal or whatever the deal was as far as the promotional boundaries are concerned. Matter of fact, Bo was the champion, and the titles went back and forth. First boxing ever dark. Kennedy McKinney and Marco Antonio Barrera. Were they with the same team? No, they were not with the same team. You know, when promoters started getting exclusive contracts from networks, when networks started giving the exclusive contracts to one promoter, that's when it started to sway in a wrong direction. It actually started around the time I turned pro. So I walked into this world without realizing it. And at the beginning, it's always subtle. You don't understand. The damage isn't showing itself right away. Sort of like, I don't know, for lack of a better example, the post 9/11 world. I feel like New York changed post 9/11, but you don't notice it right away. But 25 years later, you see the major change since 9/11, right? So, for lack of a better example, it's the same thing. Ironically, it's around the same time. It's around the same time I turned pro. Networks started giving exclusive deals to promoters. to one promoter. This promoter was with this network. This promoter was with this network.
Well, we're doing it again. We're doing it again.
It's happened ever since. It's beginning to happen.
Well, no, because then we lost HBO, we lost Showtime, and there was kind of a scramble.
No, first, let me tell you how it started. First, it was this promoter has this many dates on HBO, but then this promoter also has this many dates on HBO. I remember turning pro with Bivol Entertainment. Bivol Entertainment had so many dates on HBO for the year. But they weren't the only promoter on HBO. Because, for example, some other promoter, could have been King, it could have been whatever, had this many dates on HBO.
But you're saying that was better.
Now, no, what I'm saying is it started moving in that direction.
Yeah.
I don't think you give promoters dates, bro. You just make the fights. The network doesn't have to give dates to anybody. The network could hire a boxing head, a major boxing person that understands the sport, and not just a guy who went to law school who you just put in a position like they like to do, because then they get whirled around by the promoters.
so then look at DAZN. DAZN has many promotions on it now. Initially, it was just
but
Matchroom.
DAZN still has the main championship promotion is still a Matchroom. Still Matchroom. The deal.
But they do deals. They have deals with Golden Boy.
Smaller budget shows with smaller promoters. Golden Boy also had a pretty big deal along with Matchroom. They had some championship shows, but for the most until their deal just ended. But for the most part, it's championship is Matchroom. That's the DAZN contract. So, everything else is not really the DAZN contract. It's more so
this goes
Friday
down
Night Fights
to
or Fox Sports or early Fox Sports.
This goes down
boxing.
at every level though, because I'll say this even about.
But they weren't doing it before. What I'm saying is, look at the fights in the '90s.
This is
multi-promotional fights.
Once promoters figured out they can do it, that's when that started happening. Someone does it, and then you're like, oh, if they could do that, I could do that. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with venues. If you have a really good venue, for example, the Paramount Theater in Long Island was a great venue.
Yeah.
Only one promoter was allowed there. It was an exclusive deal.
But this
the same thing.
This style already didn't work. This is why my family being Italian, this is how boxing in Italy ended. Boxing in Italy was giving the promoters dates before America was doing it. And boxing in Italy extinct itself because the networks realized the promoters were taking advantage of it by making stupid fights, by matching their money fighters against no-hopers so that their money fighters could continue to win and the promoter would pocket the money. But you're giving the network a terrible product and people are getting mad about it. Eventually what happens is the heads of the networks realize this and cut boxing like this, like instantly. Once they realized, they cut it instantly. It took decades for it to happen in American boxing, okay? First of all, it started after American boxing started doing it after Italy had already been extincted, not mind you. So they didn't even look at the fact that model already hadn't worked. American promoters started doing the same thing because that's what a promoter will do: keep their money guys winning in less than competitive fights. And now we're paying the consequences. Boxing gets dumped by major networks. Instead of doing what's supposed to happen, which is dump the promoter, they dump the network. They dump the sport. You don't have to dump the sport. You just have to change the model. If you change the model and stop giving promoters dates, although that's not going to happen.
Well, speaking of changing the model, look at the way Zuffa's coming in, looking to change the model.
No, but the Paramount has an exclusive deal with them too.
Okay,
so
but
it's not changing the model. It's the same model.
Looking to change that model. And Dana White, after the last Zuffa 4 show, got on there and was asked about signing other stars, and Dana said unabashedly, "We're signing everybody." And then they were asking about guys like Shakur Stevenson, and now we're seeing the reach out for AJ. What is this push going to be, and how realistic is it that these guys are going to start getting big stars, and what will that do to the sport?
I think they're going to make a push for it. Of course, if you have the bankroll to make a big push, and you have the know-how of how to make a big push, I think.
Yeah, but do you need the know-how if you have the bankroll?
Not necessarily, and they've shown by paying what they paid for Ben, they don't necessarily have the know-how. But like we have talked about before, this is also a trial and error thing. I think there's certain things they're gonna have to adjust. We'll see.
But do they need it? Do they need an AJ to make it really whoa? Because listen, we had the Opatai, and people, guys like us were like, wow. Johnny, whoever on the street doesn't hear about Opatai getting signed by Zuffa and go, holy cow! They're like, oh, cool. That guy looks cool. He's a good knockout guy. Us, it's a big deal. Not a big deal for them. And now Ben made a lot more splash, more because it was the money involved than anything. And we're even the UFC fighters are now looking at this like, how is this guy making the money? So that one broke more across the board. But Ben's not that big of a star in terms of the kind of guys like an AJ, even like a Shakur Stevenson, especially over here. He's more well known over in the UK.
Well,
that was more the money that got people's attention.
I'll tell you what though. Ben fights anybody but Ryan Garcia they are forced to go to England. So Ben is that level of star because of the UK. But again, I think it's also a lot of that has to do with Eddie Hearn, because this guy's never going to win a world championship. So you can talk about his boxing acumen and his boxing ability, but star-wise, he still may surpass your Shakurs and your Haneys because it's where the geography of the fight happens. If those guys, for example, okay, if you got Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn, I think the fight's in the United States. Ryan's star surpasses.
Unless Ryan wants to go there, because he might.
Unless Ryan wants to go there. I mean, either way, I think he beats Conor. But then Shakur and Haney, who I also think both beat Conor, but they would have to, I think, bend to the negotiating power that Ben has, the leverage that Ben has because of his popularity in the UK. It surpasses their popularity here. So star power, Ben has it. Ben has it because of the UK structure.
I don't know about that. Like,
Conor Benn is going to come to? You think Zuffa signed Conor Benn and you're going to come to the US on a second fight because the pro grade fight is a gimme?
That's not where I was going. I was going with I don't know if Ben is a bigger star over there than these guys are in terms of their importance to the sport. If Zuffa signing Ben because he is a star, but his ledger has not gotten to that same level. Where if you get a Shakur, you get a Haney, you get a Ryan. Well, Ryan is also.
But here's the thing about Zuffa and
because they're longer lasting. We're talking multiple time world
trial
champions.
And error. You've already signed Conor Benn at the. Basically, the pinnacle of what he's going to accomplish. He's not going further than this. He's not going to win a world championship. Conor Benn is not going to be a world champion, guys. So you've reached the pinnacle. And it ain't like you can build it and say, oh, let's get him now, and we can continue to build and we see the potential. No, I mean, you spent a bunch of money. I guess you can recover it because he's very popular there if you put him in the right fight in the UK and so on and so forth. But he can only go up one more rung, and that's the rung he can't win at.
How are you going to baby a guy when he's making $15 million entry level? I know his first fight is not a more really.
What I'm saying is there's nothing to make back. You're going to get a beat.
You're making my point for me. You're making my point for me. That was my point. Is that signing a guy like Haney or Shakur is a bigger grab. A guy like AJ is a bigger grab because not only are they popular? Granted,
but now you got to pay them a lot more money because they're miles better than the guy.
But they're gonna be able to fight big fights for a much longer period of time.
Yeah,
there's a lot more extension, of the longevity of their status.
But then that takes you back to square one. What was the point of signing Conor Benn then? Just to stick it there? You spent $15 million to stick it to the guy?
Yeah, look at the way these guys are acting.
That's a lot of money to spend just to stick it to a guy. You're spending
somebody else's money. You got to remember that.
So you're making a jerk off out of the guy. You're spending his money just so you can take your beefs to another level. I don't know.
A fight that is happening where it's not all beef, it's going to be all steak. Actually, is Lester Martinez versus Emmanuel Ali coming up. Here's a promo of that fight. Really good fight coming up. Very excited for it.
Saturday, March 21st, Probox TV invades the NOS Event Center as Lester Martinez and Emmanuel Ali battle for the WBC World Super Middleweight title. Palmdale's Joshua Kevin Anton battles the Uzbeki Punisher. LA is in the house as Anthony Too Quick Cuba defends home turf against Brooklyn's Wesley Farrell, while Sam Contreras takes on Cesar Cantu.
Welcome back, guys. We're here with Outside the Ropes discussing all the hot topics in the world of boxing today. Of course, it's me here, Paulie Malignaggi next to me.
I'm here too.
Yes.
How you doing, guys? What kind of comments we got today?
Yeah, what do we got?
We checked on the comments, guys. What kind of comments? I've been fighting on a Ring Magazine show, not Zuffa. Guys, I got news for you. The Ring Magazine show and the Zuffa shows, they're funded by the same people, so... let's leave the semantics out of it. Leave the semantics to me, guys. And to Chris.
It's a muddled
world out there. When we talk about Zuffa and Ring, we're talking about funded by the same people. We're talking about one funding against another funding. That's the whole conversation point here. The Zone, Matchroom, MVP, ESPN.
Well, you know what? You know what that shows?
Ring,
you know what that shows?
What?
The narrative that they're pushing is working because people don't understand that. They still think it's...
Well, that's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll educate you a little bit. That's all. Nice one. But for semantics, yeah. The Salome says it's troubling the top ranking Golden Weight can't get network deals. He's TKO blackballing them. I mean, I think every promoter is going to blackball the other one. That's sort of the world we live in. I don't know if TKO can blackball other networks from getting the doing deals with other promoters because they are getting other deals.
That's
with other promoters.
not the case. That's not the case that's going on. It's not a blackballing of one promotion over the other. It's
but it is the exclusivity. It's like nobody can touch Paramount except.
Well, not
Zuffa.
exactly, because listen, MVP is signing a deal with ESPN right now. Right?
ESPN, not Paramount. What I'm saying is the exclusive deals with the promoters are still.
The
thing I was complaining about 5 minutes ago, guys. But
Paramount, you got to understand, is under the same umbrella of those, the TKO, the WWE, the UFC. That's basically their network arm. So
Pancho Villa says if Rolly Romero can be a world champion, Conor Benn can be a world champion. Absolutely not. Conor Benn would lose to Rolly Romero rather easily. No shot. Bro, what am I doing? I try to read the comments and then I got it's one idiocracy after another. Guys, come on. You guys are better than this. Come on. What
we have a guest. We do. Yes, the Tris Dixon and Matt Christie, 2 award winners from the BBBOC, being recognized for their contribution to the sport. Here's the man, Tris Dixon.
Tris, what's
How's
up,
going,
man? Congrats. BBBFC Awards. Tris Dixon, Matt Christie won major awards for their correspondence.
It's a major award.
Right?
That's a movie that's from?
Right, it's a major award. Chris, Matt and Tris. Now listen, congratulations on the awards. Talk to us.
Yeah, the floor is yours. Tell us about the award.
Because we don't have the BBBFC Boxing Awards here, but we're very curious about them.
Sure. Thanks, guys. Good to see you both. Yeah, no, it was the British Boxing Border Control Awards. They do them every year. And they were on Sunday. And Fabio Wardley won the Fighter of the Year. Fight of the Year was Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank, the first one. Conor was on hand to collect that. And yeah, Matt and I picked up significant contribution awards for our stints as editors of Boxing News, along with Claude Abrams, who was my predecessor. I was the middle one, so Matt followed me. And I think between us, we've held the editor's chair of Boxing News for about 40 years. I started writing for Boxing News in 2002, and Claude, I think, in the late 80s. And then Matt steered the ship until, I think, 2024 or 2025 before he joined us over at Boxing Scene. So, yeah, it was great. It was a prestigious award. Hey, look, you know, and I said this in a sort of rant to Matt the other day, you know, Matt and I are very sort of straight journalists. People don't see that we've got a sense of humor, or we've got kind of got like our own like little quirks. And, you know, I've spent time with both of you guys and we've always had a good time, but we're seen as the straight journalists, right? And so we're often sort of the killjoys, the ones who are talking about PDs and dirty money and corruption and all the rest of it. So quite often we're sat on the naughty step somewhere, away from the first class seats and the whining and dining of the other journalists are privy to. So it was nice to get the recognition for doing what we do and sort of trying to do the right thing on a continuous basis.
All right, that's fantastic, Tris, and I believe we're joined by Matt Christie as well. Matt, welcome to the show.
The other award winner, Matt.
Congratulations on your very prestigious award for the recognition of your contributions to the sport. Maybe just speak on the award and what it means to you, and you know, for us over here, because we don't have the BBOC over here, so we don't exactly know you know what's going on. So let the listeners
what do we have?
understand
Boxing
what
Writers
this is.
Awards dinner.
We got the Boxing Writers, BWAA.
So, yeah, Matt, congrats.
Congrats.
Is yours.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Chris. Appreciate it, Paul.
If only the production can get the volume, it will be awesome. It will be awesome. Guys.
Well,
as you can see from the
there we go, Matt. Thank you. Now
behind me, as you can see from the shelves behind me, I'm absolutely overflowing with awards, so this didn't mean anything.
there's that humor you were talking about, Tris, that people don't really know you guys for.
No, it was great. It was very unexpected. I suppose it's, you know, you work in boxing journalism and all you really want to do is you want the very, very best for the boxers, number one. And number two, you want the best for the sport. And at Boxing News, which came along in 1909, and the mission statement was to essentially assist a better sport, to create a better sport. So I think Tris, Claude, who Tris has already mentioned, myself, we kind of kept that in mind every moment while we were in the editor's chair at Boxing News. Now, the problem is that when you're trying to do something like that, given how sensitive certain influential people can be, if you're offering any criticism, you can lose you can lose some popularity along the way. So it was nice to be recognized and for it to all feel worthwhile.
Yeah, for a sport where integrity is often overlooked, it's definitely nice to be recognized for your contribution and sticking to your guns. And I tip my hat to both you guys for being that voice of reason who stays integral to the sport to make sure that we actually have a real sport and not a clown show. But so we were talking about some of these topics earlier. I kind of want to pick your brains about it.
I want to look at the comments here.
He's going to look through the comments, but the recent news about offers being made to AJ, where Anthony Joshua was able to look over at Eddie and go, "Do you believe this? This is what's happened." Are you guys surprised at all with the fact that a level of AJ is getting looked at, and how we responded to it?
But before you guys answer, real quick, and then I want you guys to answer Champ's question. The voting poll on our chat for who they would want in the People's Corner, Eddie Hearn or Dana White, right now is 90% Eddie, 10% Dana so far. At least by the chat. Go ahead, guys. Are you surprised by the attempt?
Yeah, you're surprised by the attempt at such a high level
AJ
guy as AJ, but then also AJ's response, obviously letting Eddie know about it and probably laughing it off.
Yeah, Matt, do you want to field that one?
I mean, do you know what? There was something that I was writing about for Boxing Scene that I think was published on Saturday, and it was kind of how easy would it be for Zuffa to come in or anyone to come in and take over the sport? And I think really when you look at it, you would probably say there is 6 or 7 genuine superstars that would move the dial. And I think even if they were to sign all of them, and with that I include Anthony Joshua, even if they were to sign all of those fighters, it's still going to be difficult to match them. And I still don't believe that they could create the kind of splash that would submerge the surrounding landscape, because you've still got so many other things going on. And I think if this is true, and Anthony Joshua is is amongst the targets, it number one shows how high they're aiming, but also I think that they haven't been paying attention to Anthony Joshua over the years. I think every boxer has got his price. But I think at this point of Anthony Joshua's career, he's probably not for the seducing.
Guys, that's a great point, Matt. One of the comments actually said they think it was Turkey Al-Ashik that reached out. Their opinion, of course, that would reach out to AJ privately and not necessarily somebody, one of the talking heads or one of the production or whatever, the guys at Zuffa. What's your thoughts on that? You think it maybe was a direct contact from Turkey himself? Because AJ does probably have direct contact with Turkey.
Yeah, he's been to Riyadh shows. He's been out there for the events.
Yeah, I think that's speculation. But wasn't there something similar around when Jared Anderson was approached to fight for them as well? I seem to remember that being
through Top Rank. Yeah, they took him off Top Rank for the Broccoli fight.
Yeah, and I feel like obviously, if anyone has the sway to do it, it is going to be him, right?
Turkey does like to reach out to guys directly. Yeah. He doesn't like to go through any go-betweens. We've noticed that through the years. We've done that with several fighters and several people in general, right?
Yeah, but also, my point on my answer to Chris's question there, and sort of Matt did get it in a nutshell, really. But Dana has said, if they're one of the best guys, and if they're one of the top talents, and if they're tipped for the top or one of the best on the scene at the moment, then they're in the sights. And so it doesn't come as a surprise at all. And obviously, it would have to be something significant to come as a surprise after the Conor Benn one, right? Because that was hugely shocking, and I know people will knock Conor and say he's not won a British title, he's not world level, and you'll hear this, that, and the other. But obviously, what caused the shockwaves was the relationship between Eddie and Conor, and the fact they'd been into battle with one another for that 2-year period, which I know you guys have discussed thoroughly before. And I think that was the shock value. And I think once you've done that, that was really shocking. I'm not sure there's anything where you see a promoter and a fighter that tight, aside from possibly Eddie and AJ, where you be that dumbfounded, the fact that someone's made the move.
We got a super chat, guys, from Matt Borgeson, our guy
Matt. What's up, Matt?
Says, guys, Turkey's gone for a while. War in Iran exists. You think it's dealing with the Entertainment Authority right now? Definitely not. They think Turkey, because of the war in Iran, Turkey is gonna not be really dealing directly with the boxing stuff. But it doesn't mean Zuffa's not working. But yeah, possibly that's maybe a good possibility that maybe means that it was not Turkey that directly contacted AJ, right?
But ultimately, what is Turkey really doing at this point? Seems like a company that is in control. I mean, regardless, I don't know, but I was thinking about, to use, since we're talking to some Brits over there, I said that reaching out to Anthony and Anthony essentially shooting it down and bringing it right to his promoter is kind of like a shot on goal that Eddie just blocked. Right, so this is the first block that we've seen from a fighter who was offered something big from the organization and is like, "No, I'm good." So does that mean anything? Is that significant in the landscape of this kind of faction war that's going on between Dana and Eddie, or just boxing and Zuffa in general?
I think it's interesting. It's fascinating on a day-to-day basis with what is going on at the sport at the moment. I think what you have to remember with the majority of those A-listers that I was alluding to before, when I said there's maybe 6 or 7 that can really move the dial, there's not that many of them that are at the start of their career or in the middle of their career. So I am sure that if people did want to sign these kind of fighters, that they'll be looking at these fighters that are at the end of their career, and quite rightly, those fighters will be thinking, right, I've got 2, maybe 3 more fights left. I want to maximize my earning potential as much as possible. I think it might be more difficult kind of earlier on, but I think with some of these fighters, and I know it's almost a contradiction with what I said about Joshua, I don't think Joshua's head is for the turning, but there might be some others that are at a similar point of their career that are real superstars that will look at this and think, I need to earn as much money as I possibly can. Because as you two will know, the careers are so short. One moment you think you've got all the time in the world, and the next minute, you've got
Matt,
one or
that
two
was
fights left.
that was sort of the thinking here is, if you've put out there that Conor Benn got X amount of money, so now but that's pretty much the bottom of the barrel as far as what Zuffa is going to be, TKO is going to be looking to sign. Anybody else TKO is going to be looking to sign is a higher level fighter than Conor Benn. So they're automatically going to try to say, well, if you gave this guy this much money, I'm a better fighter. I want this much money. I don't think anybody that TKO is looking at is going to be below that level. So if that's your bottom line level and you've paid that much money already, well, then anybody else gets approached is going to be like, well, okay, well, you gave this guy this much money.
This is why deals are usually done behind closed doors. So now they showed their hand about how much money
they showed their hand, but I think that was more as a show off thing. But how much is it going to cost you to show off now, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think the interesting thing there is, guys, is they've managed to destabilize 2 sports with one deal, right? I mean, you see the guys
as well,
see now starting to complain and there's clearly issues over there. And then, if you're like let's say a Ryan Garcia or a Shakur Stevenson, and you see that Conor Benn deal, you think, well, if he's getting 15 million, what am I worth?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's kind of like where we're going. They're changing the market value. But we had another topic just in terms of what the state of boxing is with Zuffa coming in and making these major plays. It seems like more and more we're getting these big sweeping deals come across the bow. We're seeing a lot of the head-to-head with the old guard, as I like to call them. What is the state of boxing's future that you guys can foresee, the best that you can tell?
Cool. That's an easy question.
It's the topics they give me.
Let Matt take that one.
we throw layups over here.
Do you know what? I really, really couldn't tell you that, and I would most certainly wouldn't want to go on a show like this and show my hand or anything like that. All I'll say is that for as long as I have been following boxing, which is the early 1980s, working in it from about 20 years after that, is that it will continue to surprise you, particularly with these workings that are going on behind the scenes. A lot of what Zuffa want to do is really encouraging, I think, but I do wonder if they will find, like many of them found before them, that the certain bad habits within the industry, all of the different rankings, all of the different sanctioning body titles, the fighters tied to certain broadcasters and not others, if they too, like all the many that came before, will also find it a bit too much of a mess to sort out on their own.
Tris, what's your take? I know it's a very broad question when really none of us have our crystal ball to be able to tell the future. But in terms of, Matt, thank you for giving like your history of what you've seen in the sport. What's your take, Tris? Or what you can decipher in this?
I think it would depend on how long they're willing to and prepared to throw the money at the sport, right? If they are in it for 10, 15, 20 years, then they will probably be the last ones standing. When you refer to the old guard, bar Eddie, a lot of those promoters are pensionable age, like they are. Like that's a fact, if not older. So, I mean, the landscape will be considerably different in a few years anyway. And obviously, I don't know. I find this period really interesting. I was actually going to ask the two of you, because I've said this on loop a couple of, the last couple of weeks. Have you known a 2-week period like this in boxing where there's just been one crazy story after another? We've had the Warren lawsuit. We've had the Usyk fight in the kickboxer. We had Conor Benn leaving. We've had all the stuff with Opetire and the IBF. It just seems to be like, I was going to say like a drama, but I'm not sure if a sitcom's a more suitable thing. But
it's a dramatic
I don't recall a
sitcom.
2-week period like it.
Yeah, Trez, I'll tell you something that you said along. Matt Borgeson has given us another super chat, and it kind of goes along with what you said about the destabilization of two sports. Matt Borgeson says, Conor Benn is getting paid more than what the UFC offered John Jones to fight Pereira on the UFC White House card, and John is more famous than Ben. LMAO. I had the LMAO.
Yeah, I mean, and we've heard this. We've heard it. There've been more than a handful of MMA fighters who are now, astonished at the money that is going to be paid to fight to boxers. And so, yeah, and like I said, it's on this side of the fence from a boxing perspective. What are the superstars, who are multi-weight champions going to be thinking about this deal?
And doesn't this kind of steel man everything that we've said and actually Dana has argued against? We always be like, no, boxers make more money than MMA. Like everyone's like, oh, MMA is so much bigger, and us boxers we've been like, no, we make way more money. And then Dana has always said, no, we have stars. We've had Conor McGregor, we've had Ronda Rousey, and it's like, yeah, well, you have two. No one else has really made that next level money.
John Jones,
no, but the money's not,
of course.
The people have made the money.
Borges' comment was referring to.
And the two examples that Dana would always use were Conor and Ronda. But Conor made that big money when he fought Floyd in boxing.
Yeah. So even then, he couldn't match Floyd because he had to cut it up so much.
There was always the argument that the boxers made more, and Dana always refuted that. And then guess what? He gets in boxing, and now he's paying these guys 5 times as much he pays an entire card.
Well, I mean,
and it's not my wheelhouse subject, but Ronda wound up going to WWE as well.
Yeah, I mean, she was grabbing money all over, but yeah, she was one of the higher paid stars. But it's just that it was the argument that Dana was always pushing back against, that now he's actually just wholesale proving.
Well, you surprised? He was
no, I'm not.
He lied?
No, I mean, I knew the truth the whole time. But the people at home, the people who are in these chats.
So the guy lied. The one out of the thousands that he gets every day. All right.
So we got another topic. Top Rank has a signing of the prospect Sammy Contreras, he's 5-0 as a professional, and maybe it's not necessarily a huge signing just on obviously who the fighter is. He's not really a well-known entity at this time. But what makes me think is like Top Rank, who has always been a fantastic judge of talent and a builder of prospects into contenders, into fighters, into champions, and into stars, who doesn't have a network deal, is still working, still signing guys, still getting guys on cards, still winning titles. So I'm not sure if you guys know much about Sammy Contreras, but regardless, what do you think about Top Rank making moves, still business as usual, even though they don't have a network deal or a home right now?
I mean, it's not really business as usual, or not business as we've got used to with someone like Top Rank, who arguably have been the most consistent and most influential promoters of the last 40 years on a worldwide basis. And to see kind of where they are now, or the perception of where they are now, is yet another surprise that's occurred over the last 12 to 18 months. But the fact that they're signing a prospect would suggest that they still have one eye on the future. And I think it's a positive move for Top Rank, to be honest. And I think that ultimately what one would hope to see, and kind of going back to an earlier question that is related, is that with Zuffa seemingly making all the moves, and seemingly with the most cash on the hip the pressure is really on for the rest of those promotional groups now to prove that they remain relevant, to prove that they can still make their own plays.
Well,
and one hopes that a consequence of that is that now everything that they're producing is as good as it possibly can be. They will know that if they start to slip up and produce inferior products, that really opens the door even wider for those that are coming in to take over.
Well, man, for my opinion, the non-Zuffa cards have been better than the Zuffa cards. Not that I'm complaining that there's more boxing on TV. I can always, as a boxing fan, I can appreciate any boxing being on TV, including the Zuffa shows. But I mean, compared the way the year started with the barn burner that was Murataya and Andy Cruz, then the Shakur Stevenson card with that whole undercard as well, the Figueroa ball fight that was at Matchroom show as well. Boxing's these promoters have stepped up, and I gotta along that same line. There's a guy in the comments, Game-E3R, very casual, clearly, because he's asking what other promoters have a TV deal. Slow Adam, we were just talking about that. ESPN just did a deal with MVP, and Matchroom literally had a press conference and announced a couple weeks ago that they got a 5-year extension with DAZN. So those are promoters with TV deals. But it goes along with what you guys said as well, because you're talking about the old regime sort of passing by. If you notice, the other promoters getting TV deals are young. It's Jake Paul and MVP, and it's Matchroom and DAZN. The old regime, the old guard, aren't really holding up as far as getting the TV deals. Now, we're hearing grumblings of Top Rank getting TV deals, but we've been hearing about that for a couple of months since they fell out. So I don't know if you guys have heard anything, but these guys are still investing in their fighters. They're still signing guys like Contreras.
They're still fighting on other cards,
and
too,
they're fighting and winning. So the company itself is moving. But are you guys hearing anything with Top Rank?
No, none. And you know, that's why it was a bit like Matt said. It was a bit refreshing to see that press release land yesterday that they were signing Sammy. But because while Matt's exactly right. Says you can't say it's business as usual, but they've been holding it down really well. It seems like they've, Paulie, you mentioned that Shakur bill. That was laced with top ranked talent from top to bottom, right? With Keyshawn and Shushu and like you mentioned Murataya, and they've got Xander. Like, they've had a hell of a year considering the obstacles.
Xander Barra was a great fight too.
Yeah, and you've got to give them credit because they're refusing to go away quietly, aren't they? You would have thought the easier option might have been to cash in the chips and sell up or move on or do something else, but they've been very dogged this year, and they've got the right fights for their fighters as well because they've been getting the results.
Secret Dance Move told me that Nick Ball was a Queensberry show, not a Matchroom show. Is that correct, guys?
Yeah,
right.
and it's worth
Secret Dance Move. Thank you for the correction.
It's worth giving Queensberry a shout out here as well. When you look at their slate of fights, they've got some very interesting stuff coming up. Not least Wardley and Dubois, which will be a big show over here, but. They've got Yoka against Okoli, which is a weird sort of cult fight in Paris, of all places, which could be really interesting. They've got Nathaniel Collins, who's lurking at featherweight in a European title rematch coming up. They've got Jazza Dickens fighting Kakachi in Ireland this week. So they've rolled out a really solid slate, and they're only a year into their deal with DAZN. So I think it's important to give them some credit. They've got a lively schedule, and like I said, Wardley Dubois for me it's one of the best fights that can be made in boxing at the moment.
That's a banger.
Yeah, that's a shootout. Secret Dance Move also says that Top Rank seems to be about to re-sign with ESPN. So can ESPN do 2 deals with 2 different promoters?
Why not?
So it wouldn't be exclusive.
That's
what I've been complaining about.
You mentioned before about HBO. They could have different. So I want to give Sammy Contreras some love because he is fighting on our card coming up on March the 21st. He's 21 years old. He's fighting in a 6-rounder. He's 5-0 with 2 KOs. Listen, in the amateurs, he boxed Abdullah Mason, Ben Johnson, and Emiliano Vargas. So Matt, to your point about if you're going to sign talent, sign the tip-top guys. And Paul, you brought this up the other day. I said they're signing a lot of the talent who's coming up. You're like, yeah, well, where are the gold medalists? Where are these high-level amateur guys? We're not seeing them really in the Zuffa cards yet.
Yeah.
But we're still seeing it with Bob.
With the main
and how about Bob being in the picture of the signing? How great is that? Bob's still working. The man, I remember going to the office with Bob. He had his suspenders on. He had paperwork. He was always working. And it's so great to see him still doing it at such an advanced age.
It really is great to see him doing it at such an advanced stage. If I'm still around when I'm that age and I'm still working in boxing, though, please show me the door. But anyway, I think I had a really interesting conversation recently with someone that I won't be able to name, but they were involved and highly influential within one of these promoters that we're now referring to as the collective old guard. And one of the points they made is that we have got so much history. When we're sitting down with, say, a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old or a 20-something Olympic medalist, we can say to them, we will provide you with the education and the experience to get you ranked. We will match you carefully. We will show you how to move you up the sanctioning body rankings, and you will get rewarded for each step that you go along. And then when you compare that to what perhaps Zuffa might be saying to a parent or to a young fighter and saying, well, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to match you really tough from your first fight. And in your third fight, you might be in a light and death. So really,
but if you get fight of the night, we'll give you 50,000.
Well, there's that, isn't there? There is that.
Which is short-term love, but long-term pain. Right?
But I think certain advisors, certain parents are going to be looking at the longevity. So it's, as much as I have always loved the idea of 50-50 fights, I do also understand that certain boxes need to be ticked when these fighters are on the way up if they are to fulfill their potential.
I will say,
yeah, when you look at guys like Bruce Trampler and that, like, it's an art form, isn't it? It's an art form, and that's how you end up with the best fighting the best. You get these guys to about 25-1 or 25-0, 25-3. Exactly.
You got to develop the hunger for the 50-50 fight, right? So you got to know how to build the fighters enough, and then know when the right time to make the fight is. Because I feel like my complaint with the current generation has been that the 50-50 fight came and then goes and the ship sails. There's a time to make the 50-50 fight, but you do have to build these guys so that the 50-50 fight has appeal to all, makes everybody curious. Because if you make a 50-50 fight too soon, what happens is there's no curiosity. It's not even appreciated unless you're watching in real time, which is, you can't get more people to tune in to promote that fight because nobody knows the guys.
Yeah, but there's the idea of maximizing the potential of each combatant before they fight, right? You want to get the best version of them that is matured and into position.
Get them into position,
right,
exactly.
Into their
There's
position
a time to
to
make
actually
the 50
have
fight.
good,
There is a
good
timing.
fights.
Guys, Alu3162, again, talking about the destabilization of two sports, and in Trish's point earlier, UFC fighters are criminally underpaid. Look up the views someone like Charles Oliveira gets on his fights on YouTube. Millions of views. His fight reruns get views like Ryan Garcia. Is that true? You get the reruns of Charles Oliveira get those kind of views?
Brazil, so, they watch.
That's wild. Then
wild.
So what
huge star.
What are we doing over here?
I think he made two. Don't quote me, but he made around 2 and change million over the weekend.
I tell you what, though, guys, you know who's having the most fun with this?
What did Ryan Garcia make?
I don't know, guys. You know what Ryan Garcia made for his last fight?
For the Barrios fight? No. I mean, I'd be guessing, but
a lot more than 2.5.
Yeah, eight figures for sure.
A lot more than 2.5.
The person having the most fun with this is Eddie Hearn, right? He's the one loading the guns and firing the ammunition.
Well, you know what? You mentioned earlier the age of a lot of the old guard, the promoters. Eddie's young. Eddie's and I've heard from good sources that Eddie is very motivated by all of this. This is getting him up in the morning and getting ready to go and go to work and go to battle.
Guys,
he's young and hungry still.
Oh, guys, William says you guys should make a top rank Pro Box versus Top Rank event. Guys, we've had some Pro Box versus Top Rank fights.
I just mentioned we had
Tiger Johnson wreck
Floss,
yeah. But we also had Venano Lopez get knocked out by Angel Leo. That was our guy.
I called that fight. I was on that call.
But not bad. I like these. Remember Turkey was doing the Queensbury versus Matchroom cards?
Oh, the 5-on-5s are great.
Those were great. Well, I don't know why we had to go away from that stuff. Again, that's why I don't like these exclusive deals. You make inter-promotional fights, your best versus my best. It's your gang versus my gang, and we push forward our best guy. You push forward your best guy, and they go at it, bro.
Yep.
People watch that kind of stuff.
Unfortunately, guys, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the incredible award for recognizing all your contributions to the sport. It's really awesome to have you guys on, and look forward to having you again soon because it's great chatting.
Thanks, guys.
Take it easy, guys. Great to have you on.
All right, we got Lester Martinez coming up. Let's go check out his preparations and getting ready for his fight with Emmanuel Alim for the interim title, the WBC interim title, with the winner potentially in line for the Canelo Christian Billy fight. I don't know. We'll see. But let's check out Lester Martinez.
Saturday, March 21st, Probox TV invades the NOS Event Center as Lester Martinez and Emmanuel Alim battle for the WBC World Super Middleweight title. Palmdale's Joshua Kevin Anton battles the Uzbeki Punisher. LA is in the house as Anthony Too Quick Cuba defends home turf against Brooklyn's Wesley Farrell, while Sam Contreras takes on Cesar Cantu.
And we're back here talking top stories in the boxing world today. All your top stories from Boxing Scene and beyond. So let's talk. Dimitri Bivol returns, finally, champs. Been out of the ring for quite some time. Yeah. He's fighting Michael Eifert. Dimitri Bivol is expected to face IBF mandatory challenger Michael Eifert on May 23rd card, headlined by Usyk Verhoeven, which is going to be by the Pyramids of Giza in Egypt. What are your thoughts here on Bivol's return and the size of his card?
We never did get the Bivol and better be a fight, right? What did they end up doing? Did it just
the
pass?
Rubber match? The rubber match has been passed.
That's it. The ship sailed. It's gone. It sailed away from the.
Maybe we come back around because both guys have been out for so long. They haven't fought.
Yeah, but then at that point, what are you doing? You're doing Leonard Duran 3. What are you doing?
Canelo
Golovkin 3. I mean, at that point, either you make it at the right time or
well, Beterbiev's what, 56 years old, 71, 85.
Yeah, right.
He's literally. I think he's my age. I think he's 42.
All right, so Bivol versus Michael Eifert. Listen, this is turning into a little. I don't know a lot about Michael Eifert. Do you know a lot about Michael Eifert?
He's got one loss, which he did avenge. He's not
because so it
looks.
It looks to me like
Jean Pascal in Canada though.
Yeah, but it's an old Jean Pascal.
Jean Pascal's also.
Listen, I'm sure he's a decent fighter, but the level of Bivol we're looking at, obviously we're looking for big fights for a guy like Bivol who's coming to the end of his run soon, right? So you want to see him in as many big fights as possible. It looks to me like this Giza show is probably more of a showcase than anything else. I mean, Usyk is probably in a non-risk fight against Verhoeven, even though Verhoeven is an excellent kickboxer. This is boxing, right? So this looks like a showcase for Usyk, and the co-main event is Bivol versus Eifert. And with all respect to Eifert, who's probably a pretty good fighter, he's the IBF mandatory. Still, when you see Bivol at this stage of his career, you want to see him against bigger names. So this sort of also could be a little bit of a showcase type of fight.
But is there a risk because of how long that he's been out of the
he's
ring,
older,
and
right?
you've got a young?
Old, right? 34?
He's probably he's probably below 30. I'm saying right now, actually.
Is he born 90, 91? When is he born?
They don't have it on BoxRec, but he is he's under 35 years old, but he's he's been inactive. Out of the ring for a while, had a couple tough fights with Beterbiev, has been fighting for a very, very long time. Certainly not young, right.
Guys.
But the inconsistency in being out of the ring is, especially for a fighter like him, who is a rhythm fighter, to not be in the ring, I think can hurt him. So is there a risk of taking a fight like this with a guy like Eifert?
Well, listen, Eifert is going to be hungry.
He's very
undefeated.
Hungry. He has one loss, but he
avenged it. Okay, listen, Eifert's going to show up hungry, but again, on paper, it still looks like a showcase fight. What you're selling me on paper is Usyk versus Verhoeven and Bivol versus Eifert. On paper, you're selling me showcase fights. Then whatever becomes of them. Obviously, sometimes there's surprises. Ngannou surprised Fury, remember? So, but overall, listen, Regular Bob said this is the best show in boxing. Max Kellerman actually said that his show is the best show in boxing on their last episode, and I commented that Probox TV is the best show in boxing, and it got many likes. Regular Bob, I agree with you. I don't think...
I love his name, too. Regular Bob. Regular Bob knows. He's
Regular Bob. Knowledgeable Bob here. You change your name to Knowledgeable Bob, bro.
So real quick,
we agree with you.
Michael Eifert is German. His nickname is Diesel.
Diesel.
5'11.5", young, strong.
14-1 record.
Yeah, 13-1 record. Avenged the only loss that
Bivol
he had.
Coming off a back surgery. Alu 316.
Oh, that's another thing. That's right. Yes, back surgery in your 30s.
Guys in the comments. That's why we love you. See that?
So I had knee surgery.
3162. Thank you for the little tidbit because that's another conversation point for the Eifert fight. What's up with that?
I had knee surgery when I was 32 years old after the my fight with Errol Spence. My knee was never the same.
Yeah, surgery. Man, bro, a lot of back surgeries, your back's never the same, right?
Backs are tough. So what's with these Russian fighters in the backs? Remember Dmitry Pirog? Back surgery, ended his career.
Yeah. What's going on?
Back ended his career. What is it about the training that is putting so much strain in the back? Because you don't normally hear about back problems in fighters.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember Shane Mosley complaining about back tightness, but that wasn't like necessarily an injury.
Yeah, but he was wound so tight, man.
Yeah.
Shane was that's not the way these guys are.
Yeah, man.
So super loose. Both of those fighters, both Bivol and Pirog, very loose. Athletic fighters. Very strange for them to have back
Ian C.
issues.
Meyer 4057 agrees with us, champ. He says Regular Bob is a nice name.
Thanks.
Well, tell Regular Bob in the comments. Don't tell us.
Don't tell us.
Go
DM the Regular Bob.
You gotta link him to your comment. You know.
But so that's interesting. He went to Canada to fight Jean Pascal in his hometown, which he sells, man. He was actually at the fight in Closer Shields. I got a picture with Jean Pascal, and I don't care how old that guy is. He still looks young and is jacked. But he went there and beat him pretty good. 117, 111, 115, 113, 118, 110. So a dominant performance against Jean Pascal.
That's a good win. But again, it's an older Pascal. It's a little bit older.
Still
Pascal.
did it
Matt
in his
Borgerson has a
backyard.
thought. Matt Borgerson has a thought
Wait,
about.
real quick, has a KO of a guy 20-0.
He does.
Beat a 17-0 fighter. Yeah, he's got some names.
No, listen, he for the
got some
mandatory.
bodies.
IBF's not going to put you in the mandatory if you're totally useless. But again, we want bigger names at this point. Doesn't move the needle, as one of the comments was saying I read earlier. Matt Borgerson did say they wrestle in the saunas. Back issues, LMAO. Matt Borgerson. Well, I thought saunas would help you.
They do that down in Miami too. The wrestling in the saunas. It's
They
a
do?
little
Is it
different
wrestling in a sauna?
No, it's
Oh.
a joke. It's not.
Oh.
It's not. It's
I was
not.
like,
It's not on
bro,
the up.
Isn't it tough when you all sweaty wrestle like that? I'm not even going to where you guys want it to go. I'm literally.
I knew where he was going.
Saunas are actually good for your back, I think. Okay, they help you. No one cares about Bivol versus E for a secret dance move says.
But you care about Bivol.
Again, you care about Bivol and you care about Usyk. Some people even care about Verhoeven, right? I mean, you just don't care about them against one another, essentially. But again, these are more showcase fights. It's, hey, we're doing a show on the appearance of Bids of Giza, and we're going to put these superstars on the show.
I know I'm supposed to talk about this. I know
like.
I'm supposed to talk about this later, but we're here now. Let's talk about this Usyk Verhoeven fight. Is this a legitimate fight, legitimate test, or is this just an event? And is this just kind of a showcase? And is it just a money grab for Usyk, who, by all intents and purposes, deserves to be able to move like that if he wants right now? But
I think our fans agree with us. Secret Dance Move says Usyk versus Rico is a joke fight. Again, it's and
I'm the resident kickboxer here, and I know Rico is awesome. Like
I
mean, he's the GOAT. So for people at home who don't know, Rico Verhoeven is the GOAT of heavyweight kickboxing. He is the best who's ever done it. He's the longest reigning champion.
Better than Ernesto Hust?
He hasn't lost in like 11, 12 years in a row, and these guys usually knock each other off all the time. Rico is fantastic. He's a blood and guts guy. He'll get off the canvas. He's got broken face. He's been cut really bad. He's been dropped really bad. Always comes back to win. He has a very similar track record to how Usyk does. How he's beaten everybody twice.
Okay.
He's beaten everybody worth a damn.
Hagler.
Yes, guys will get their shot again. He beats them down again. He's beaten guys from the past years, the legends. He's beaten the current crop. He's beaten the younger guys. He's dominated everybody. He is unbeaten in such a long time, which is very rare in kickboxing. These guys normally knock each other off a lot. Not Rico. Rico is very, very special in terms of kickboxing. The GOAT of heavyweight kickboxing is Rico.
But that's like putting in I don't know, the ping pong champion against
Rico against Federer.
Against Federer, who's against who's the new guys now, Sinner. You know, the Sinner's the new guy, or Alcaraz. You know, the top tennis guys. You know, against the world ping pong champion. Yeah, they're great at what they do, but if you intermix something similar, but it's still different, it's still going to be different. The world's best ping pong player is still going to get crushed by Alcaraz or Sinner.
But listen, is it better? Is it okay?
So tennis, but if they're playing ping pong,
this is a great
Alcaraz
point.
and Sinner lose.
So is this better? Is this better than Floyd fighting McGregor? Because McGregor was nowhere near the best guy in MMA, but he came to fight our best guy in boxing, even though he was older.
That was, we're going to make a jerk off out of you by selling the popularity of these two guys.
It
worked. They really bought into it.
This one doesn't seem like it's working, though.
This one, I don't know. But you know what? That one was also in Vegas. You had the promotional machine behind it. Listen, say what you will about Zuffa and the UFC. They do have a promotional machine behind them, and they know how to promote that very well. Mayweather was also at the pinnacle of his popularity, too. That was a timing thing. Verhoeven, I don't know. He's not really known.
Guys,
Kickboxing is not huge over here.
Get in the comments.
They're in the comments.
Does this fight matter to you?
We have Matt Borgerson says, "What if Usyk is shot, and that's why he took this fight?" I mean, he's 39. I mean, he's not going to be at his prime either way, right? But,
okay, so next.
But how old is Verhoeven? You said he's on the beat for 10 years. He's not in his prime himself.
No, Verhoeven I think is like 37.
Yeah, so
he's not young either.
You know,
and kickboxing is rough. But next topic, I'm going to do it a little bit out of order because of this comment that we're actually talking about right now. So Oleksandr Usyk planned out his next 3 fights, which is something I've been questioning. If he's taking this Rico Verhoeven fight, I was saying that hey, maybe this means not that kind of what Matt's saying. Is he shot? But not necessarily is he shot, but is he done fighting top quality opposition? Is he really now just looking to get the money grabs and get out? So his number one, obviously, is Rico Verhoeven, which he's fighting in front of the pyramids of Giza in Egypt, and then he wants the winner of Dubois and Wardley. So he still wants the smoke.
Well, that's the thing. I
And
mean,
then the third fight before you I don't want to cut you off. Before the third fight is
Cabell?
No, it's Tyson Fury, of course.
So Cabell's just gonna sit out?
I guess so. I guess
That's not fair either.
No.
See?
Well, you know what it is? You know what's really messed up is Rico Verhoeven has taken
Cabell's spot.
Cabell's spot, and now he's getting left out.
Nah, see, that's what I'm saying. That's when you make it. You know, we understand this is a business and a sport, but when the business starts to overtake the sport too much, it starts to aggravate me. You know, these were the things Canelo was doing. It was aggravating me. Now Usyk doing this. Listen, if Usyk would do this here and retire, I'd say, you know what? Okay, it was his walkout fight. Fine. You know, he gave us so many tough fights. He constantly fought the best, and that's it. But if this is not his walkout fight, then what are we doing? What is there's no point here, and it's not about he should be able to do what he wants. No, vacate every single title then, and leave the heavyweight division moving the way it's supposed to be moving.
So you're taking this as Oleksandr Usyk taking advantage of his position, getting a money grab.
Yeah, if he doesn't retire after this. If he retires after this, it's like, okay, you got one on the way out.
No. Oleksandr Usyk outlined 3 fights he wants before retiring. Rico Verhoeven, May 23rd in Egypt. Winner of Fabio Wardley versus Daniel Dubois. And then lastly, a Tyson Fury trilogy
I love how
fight.
he walks around like he's 25 years old. Like he plans things like 10 years in advance. Buddy, it's almost over here. He's 39 years old, no?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he could be done at any time, but listen, I get it. You don't want to leave money on the table on the way out the door.
Jesse Underlin agrees with me. He says Usyk doesn't deserve bleep. He got his titles. He got a shot at the titles. If he wants to make a circus show exhibition, he needs to relinquish the belts and let the people that are paid the sanctioning fees fight for them.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I think we all agree in that. And in terms of this third Tyson fight, do we really need this fight? That's the question. I say no because I think it's going to block a potential Anthony Joshua fight. What do you think, champ? And what do you guys think at home? Do we need a third Tyson Fury Oleksandr Usyk fight?
Only for me, only if Usyk would be able to beat the Wardley Dubois winner. But now, I mean, if Fury would be able to beat the Usyk, if Tyson Fury would be able to beat the Dubois and Wardley winner, that
doesn't seem like he's going to allow that. It looks like Usyk's
that's why if
going
Usyk's going to get that shot, I don't understand it because then you generate no interest in the third fight with Fury.
What if
at least if Fury
Tyson
picks up a heavyweight title? Let's see
now
how Fury looks against Makhmudov.
Right, now we're going way down the line because all right, so Tyson Fury beats Makhmudov. Tyson Fury gets Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury beats Anthony Joshua. Then we see the Usyk Joshua fight. Usyk Fury fight. Does that move the needle?
Usyk and Joshua?
No, Usyk and Fury for a third fight. If Tyson were able to beat Joshua. Did we care about the fight then?
You're going down a slippery slope here because if Joshua beats Fury, you're going to create that as a third fight.
And nobody wants that either.
What do you mean? How does nobody want that fight, but everybody wants the other one? I don't know if we need any of those third fights unless either of them can fight and beat the winner of Dubois and Wardley.
I want at least one Fury Joshua fight. Maybe
two,
maybe three.
That's fine, but the winner... Maybe 2 or 3. Okay, I got you. But the winner does not just go into a heavyweight title fight. You got to put yourself back into the heavyweight picture in that regard. I don't mind them fighting each other. It's great for boxing. It's great for British boxing. These guys have contributed a lot to the sport, and they've done a lot of great things and given us a lot of exciting nights. But, bro, you can't fight each other and then get a heavyweight title shot. It's just not supposed to be that way.
So what does our future look like? Because all of these guys, these elder statesmen of the heavyweight division, you've got Oleksandr Usyk, you got Tyson Fury, you got Anthony Joshua. I mean, I'm going to bring up Wilder because he is fighting Chisora soon. When these guys,
that fight?
I think Chisora.
Yeah,
I think Chisora. He's just rough out for anybody.
Well,
he's
at this
so
point,
rough.
like the older Wilder would
I think he starched
would have starched them. But
yeah,
I think. You know,
I think there's a chance that Wilder could have starched Anthony at certain points of his career.
Yeah, I think so. But at this point, he's too easily backed up, and he's too gangly with those legs backing up.
Chisora is big and
big
strong.
haymakers. He's rough.
And you know what's funny about Chisora? As much as we've seen him get iced, the guy's chin is good. Like, I've never seen a heavyweight who's been able to recover from such bad knockouts to still have a solid chin. He's a real anomaly. That Derek Chisora. That's why he's so beloved.
And he's been so exciting that
he's so much fun.
Despite the fact that he's another one who won't win a title, he's had to earn it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, there's guys who aren't going to be champions. They will make you wards, the Chisoras of the world. dude, become a huge fan. They're exciting fighters. When
Mickey
I talk
Ward's
about
a
Conor
good
Benn,
description, actually.
I don't know if Conor Benn is as exciting as those guys, but he can make fun fights. I don't mind Conor being in the mix, but he's getting treated way better than Mickey Ward and Chisora ever were. Just
but his dad,
like
his father, he's got a name.
Yeah, it's Eddie too. It's Eddie too. It ain't just his dad. It's Eddie too. It's Eddie too.
But in terms of so my point of saying about this old guard that's moving out, we got sidetracked. The next in line, we're looking at Fabio Wardley, Daniel Dubois, Moses Atalma, Agit Kabayel. Right? Who am I missing?
Dubois, Kabayel, Atama.
I said Atalma. Yeah, he was
Jalalov, who nobody likes to mention.
If he can get an opportunity, if he can break into that mix.
Daryl, speaking of the heavyweights, Daryl 7777 says, have you guys heard about the sparring session from back in 2015, 2016 when Usyk pieced up Vlad while he was champ and was kicked out after one round? I did vaguely hear about
round?
This. Yeah, I did vaguely hear about this, but I don't know if it was one round. It might have been just been a bad sparring session. Here's the thing. Who would Vladimir have been training for to spar a southpaw? Like that. This is how the sense of realism. You guys have to look between the lines as far as the realism. And I'm not saying this is true or not true. I'm not saying this. What I'm saying is, at that point in Vladimir's career, 2016, you're probably sparring less because you're preserving yourself. You're a little older, so the sparring you're gonna do is out of necessity and not just sparring for the sake of staying in shape like you do when you're younger, where you spar all the time. So my question for you guys at home is, if this is true, one way to kind of test how true it is if the sparring session even happened or how real the story is. Vladimir in 2016, was he preparing for any southpaws? If not, then this likely didn't even happen. Or
I am not
or it might,
talking about sparring.
No, but what I'm saying is
it's
still
silly.
clickbait. People still talk about my sparring with Conor McGregor with different opinions. It's still clickbaity. I get it, but you also have to know how to analyze the veracity and the truth of it. Vladimir Klitschko in 2016 is likely not sparring or southpaw for no reason.
These are things that people don't understand. They don't understand how sparring and training goes. I
would always spar southpaws when I was older, especially if I'm sparring a southpaw, especially when I'm older.
They probably did that.
But if I'm trying to get southpaw, I got to be training for a
some
southpaw.
work with the smaller guy. He's a southpaw. He jumps in.
No, it's not a small guy. 2016, Usyk is already in the cruiserweight tournament, I think. It's not like he's not just a random smaller guy.
No, I'm not saying he's a small guy, but like, you're going to jump in with the smaller guy who's obviously very, very good. But at the same time, it's like, he probably had one round and Klitschko goes, I got 6 rounds to get in today, and I don't want to work with a southpaw. Get him out of here.
Yeah, it could be that too. You got a lot of things could be in there, guys. Daryl, good question. I know you guys at home love this sparring drama, and sometimes in boxing we get caught up in it too. But it's there's a lot of variables when it comes to a story like that. Matt Borgerson's back on the super chats. What's up, Matt? I don't know.
Borgerson lives in the super chat.
Yeah, we need to get him a couch over here. I don't know why, but I get this feeling Wardley going to start Dubois and would be the guy to upset Usyk. He just has a style that Usyk hasn't seen up close. He's very, very determined and savage, but I think he's just too...
There's nothing Usyk hasn't seen.
Yeah, he's too raw to beat an Usyk.
He is a big, young athlete. He's a real athlete, and he's got self-confidence like you wouldn't believe. He believes in himself because he has no reason not to.
Champ, your favorite... Jordan Grant 5503 talks about the sparring again. He says Usyk boxed Wardley's head off in sparring.
So I watched Will Rosinski box Joe Smith head off in sparring on multiple occasions. They fought in a real fight. Will barely won a round.
Yeah.
So sparring conversations. People who know what sparring is about don't care about sparring.
Some guys don't spar good.
No, Sergey Kovalev was
a lot
notorious.
A lot of guys are really good punchers, but that gets more scary with small gloves. With sparring, it's not as scary.
So Sergey Kovalev was notoriously bad in sparring, and during his prime when he was killing guys.
Yeah,
just big puncher, bigger gloves. Didn't really care for it. Training was training, whatever. But then would show up on fight night, an absolute killer.
And this was a guy who was in the gym with him because he was training with John David Jackson at the time.
Exactly. So there's a lot of guys like that.
We give you the real inside scoops, guys. Not the hearsay. We give you the real inside scoops.
Okay, we got our final topic of the day, the return of Tszyu, who has a quote-unquote...
Pancho Villa says, I don't like sparring stories. I got to see to believe. Pancho, we love you.
Pancho gets it. The return of Tszyu in what is essentially a tune-up fight, getting ready for Errol Spence showdown this summer.
It's got a 20-0 guy.
I was going to say, that's why I said quote-unquote tune-up fight.
On paper, it's a preparatory fight, but he's...
Dennis Nurja, you work over there with No Limits, and you're going to be calling the fight, I believe, right?
Yeah, it looks like I'll be heading over there. They haven't made my flights yet, but I've been in contact with them. And Nurja is a guy who's undefeated, has fought in multiple countries. Okay, so he's a guy who travels well. He's undefeated in multiple countries. He's an Albanian guy who lives in Italy, which is pretty common at this point. Albanians and Italians are practically cousins because so many Albanians live in Italy. And as a matter of fact, the Albanians I know in New York speak better Italian than the Italians I know in New York. I kid you not, because most of the Albanians move to Italy first when they move, and then they move elsewhere. So Nurja is one of these Albanians who lives in Italy. May have been promoted by the Kyrgyz for a little while. Is undefeated. Has had most of his career.
31 years of age. Orthodox fighter.
At a decent level. Hasn't really stepped up to somebody as big as Tim Tszyu. He's a guy who's tough, workmanlike, but he's going to be right in front of you. So Tim won't have to find him. It could be a sort of a stay busy kind of opponent. Listen, I'm not saying you underestimate anybody who's 20-0, because a 20-0 guy is still going to be hungry. He's going to show up. And Albanians like to fight. That's not a bad thing. We're talking about boxing right here. But
never been past 6 rounds.
Never been past 6 rounds, exactly. Also, not hard to find. When I watched him on video, he's kind of in front of you. But he's also not going to be in awe when going over to Australia, because he's fought in 6 countries. So he's a guy who says, okay, you know what, this is my big step-up fight. This is my big chance. Also, you got to keep in mind somebody like Nurja as well. This is Tim Tszyu's fight right before the Spence fight, okay? Right. You would assume the Spence fight happens next. There's a chance for Tim Tszyu to overlook him.
Yes.
Nurja, on the other hand, with a 20-0 record.
There's a chance for Tim to be shot. I hate to say it.
Also, Nurja's 20-0. Nurja has a chance to move to 21-0, not just move to 21-0, which keeps you undefeated, but move to 21-0 with a breakout win over Tim Tszyu. So it's a big opportunity for Nurja. He travels well, so he's not going to be bothered by that. I think, listen, you favor Tszyu in the fight, because Nurja not having been past 6 rounds and not having stepped up to the world-class level is a big deal. And having seen him on video, he is kind of basic. But he's going to come hungry, and we're going to see what Tim Tszyu has left, because he's been working with Pedro Diaz. I like the fact that it's back-to-back camps, because Tszyu just fought in December, so you build up your chemistry. And because Diaz is a very technical trainer, so with a technical trainer, you got to spend a little more time with that kind of trainer in order to really get each other's rhythm. So I like the fight, but we'll see if... We'll see how he looks. We'll see if he wins. And then you would think the big Spence fight will be after if everything goes well.
Yeah, well, make sure you check it out. But also check out Naji Lopez this weekend. We got a big fight card for Probox TV. Myself will be there. Paulie Malignaggi will be there calling all the action. Here's Naji Lopez.
On Friday, March 13th, Probox TV returns to Kissimmee, Florida for another action-packed contender series. In the 10-round main event, Probox TV alumnus and fast-rising world-ranked light heavyweight Naji Lopez takes another stern test against Mexican top contender Manuel Gallegos. Up-and-coming Dominic Valle will take on battle-hardened veteran Eduardo Ramirez of Mexico.